Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. I noticed that there are a lot of chart analysts out there over the last day or two maybe that are at this point putting out some pretty dire projections in some cases anyway, and I don't know that we're going to hit them. Maybe we will, maybe we won't, but I'll tell you this. Bitcoin, of course, leading the market. We're talking about potentially getting into the 20,000s, potentially sooner than later. And if this does happen, you can imagine what that might mean for XRP and every single altcoin on the planet. Probably not such fun times. And so while right now, arguably, the risk of holding XRP or really any cryptocurrency would be unusually high, I still argue that the risk in not holding XRP and other cryptocurrencies is much higher. That's my humble opinion. Because if you fast forward just a little bit further out, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, where do you think things are going to be? Do you think any of this volatility in the short term is actually going to matter? Well, I'll tell you what, I've got some data I want to share with you. So despite some of this potentially scaring people, I understand that. I got some, here, I'll just get the headline of this particular paper. It was our article, rather, from the Daily Huddle. Majority of institutional investors are actively recommending crypto assets to clients, according to Bitstamp study. And folks, wait till you see one of the figures that they share in here is how many people that are involved in the world of crypto have only jumped in within the last 2 years. My friends, you are so early, and if we're right, and we are, that the crypto asset class is going to be around forever, at least as long as the internet exists as far as I'm concerned, who the hell cares? Even if we see scary movement in terms of price action to the downside, and even if it makes our XRP relative to United States dollar or whatever your fiat currency of choice is, but even if it makes it that much lower, it's not gonna matter. We're talking about life-changing wealth here, so I'm happy to be as patient as is necessary, but I get that we are here early. Now, I do want to be clear at the outset, I do not have a legal or financial background of any kind. I'm not offering legal or financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. As I record this, XRP is at 61 cents, and I am happy to report, at least at the moment I'm recording this, XRP is back to the number 6 spot in terms of market cap. Over the last week or so, it had been as low as position number 8. Bitcoin's at $38,442. Market cap for the asset class, $1.76 trillion. And Bitcoin dominance at 41.41%. How about that crypto fear and greed index? Currently at 28 out of 100, indicating that your typical retail speculator is in fear. Cry, cry. It's not so bad, though. It's really not so bad out there. Although I did want to highlight this, too. This is interesting. You guys remember this this headline from the end of March? This is from CoinDesk. I mean, it was talked about all over crypto media, but this is titled, Bitcoiners Scoff at Chris Larson's $5 million campaign to force a Bitcoin code change. And so this is Ripple co-founder Chris Larson. The story's covering his push to encourage some sort of fix for Bitcoin because proof of work simply doesn't work and it damages the environment. That's his argument. And Bitcoin Max is out there. They're pretending as if this isn't an issue at all. And I'm not convinced it's something that would bring down Bitcoin. So I'm not saying this is something that's like a doomsday scenario. But to pretend that it's not a problem is to just stick your head in the sand. And so a point that Chris Larson had brought up is that there are a lot of firms out there that in terms of adopting Bitcoin, they're not going to do it if Bitcoin is far out of line with their other efforts on the environmental front. Take a look at this headline from you today. Wikipedia bans crypto donations. And I don't feel like I need to read the article. It's on your screen if you want to pause. Feel free to take a look here. I'm not going to read it, but having gone through this article, it is because of proof of work. It's because of the environmental. So they're no longer taking crypto donations, although really they should have just minimized it or limited it rather to like XRP, which is basically... It basically uses no energy. Relatively, comparatively speaking, XRP to Bitcoin, there is no comparison. So this is only going to get worse for the Bitcoin folks if they're not gonna do anything about it. But it is what it is. Also, take a look at this. Here's a tweet from XRP community member Leonidas, who wrote the following: "Fun fact: 2 more months for the original 55 billion XRP escrowed by Ripple in December 2017 to end. If Ripple hadn't re-escrowed any XRP, on July 1st, it wouldn't hold any XRP in escrow. Currently, The last Ripple XRP escrow ends in March of 2026. Now, folks, I remember when this XRP was initially escrowed. I had been in crypto for all of like 4 weeks or so, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever it was, because I jumped in November of 2017. And I remember when that happened, I was like, huh, that seems like forever away. Talking about 55 months worth of XRP being locked up. That seems like forever. Well, here we are now. And so that's why it's easy to be impatient when you think about what's happening right now. Oh my gosh, my XRP, why isn't it worth enough for Lambo time or so on and so forth? It's all relative. Look, eventually it's going to be 5 years in the future from this moment in time when I'm saying this sentence. Eventually it's going to be 10 years. And it really seems far away, but eventually you're going to get there. And so that's why for me, recognizing the opportunity at hand, and then just insisting that I be patient, like, is there any better way to go about this in terms of, no. I mean, we have over 100 years worth of data to show that's what works when it comes to investing in the stock market. We've got over a decade of data to show that's what it takes to be successful investing in cryptocurrencies, but it's all about sentiment. In fact, look at this tweet that was shared by my fellow XRP YouTuber, The Bearable Bull. Here, I'll make it full screen. You can see there's the Crypto Fear and Greed Index, 2 different screen grabs, one from January 11th, 2021, so over a year ago. That's the one on the left. And then there's one from May 1st, yesterday, that's on the right. And you can see that the price was the same in each of these instances. So again, January 11th, 2021, Bitcoin is at 38,000. Now it's also about 38,000 as I record this over a year later. So what's the difference though? On the left, you can see that at that price, the market was in extreme greed. Extreme greed at 90 out of 100. Same price over a year later, market's in extreme fear at 22 out of 100. And the Bearable Bull wrote, the only difference is your emotions. Well, that's a primary differentiating factor, but also directionally, where was Bitcoin heading? So I would say there is one thing to consider. It's really directionally what the market is doing. That's what caused it. It's not the price itself. It's the direction, actually. But still, the point is not lost on me. I thought it was a good tweet, so I decided to share here. And there was this from on-chain analyst Will Clemente, who wrote the following. This bear market, no one is questioning whether Bitcoin will exist anymore or if it's a scam, but rather the lowest price point it will go so that they can accumulate as much of it as possible. Okay, so a couple things on that. I can appreciate the sentiment, and I will say that the more time passes, the fewer people are questioning whether or not it's going to continue to exist in the future. The question of whether or not it's going to zero, he says it doesn't exist anymore. I wouldn't go quite that far. There's a question. People are. It's just there's fewer people questioning it, and people are not as scared investing in Bitcoin because it's got more of a track record. It's better understood than it was in the past. But even so, the point is not lost on me, and people are really jumping in heavily. So to take a look at this headline from the Daily Hodl, majority of institutional investors are actively recommending crypto assets to clients, according to Bitstamp study. Now, this is cool stuff. You guys are gonna. I think you're going to feel happy after this, and then I'll get into the potentially scary sounding stuff with the price action of Bitcoin potentially getting in the 20,000s. But I wanted to cover this article first because it's not going, even if those doomsday scenarios come to pass, and if they come to pass sooner than later, it doesn't matter. Take a look at this. A recent study by crypto exchange platform Bitstamp finds that institutional investors are actively recommending digital assets to their clients. The Bitstamp Crypto Pulse Report, which surveyed over 5,500 professional investors and 23,000 retail investors from 23 countries across the globe, reveals that the majority of institutional investment decision makers are endorsing crypto assets as investments to their clientele. And here's a quote from the piece. Institutional investors are now actively recommending crypto to their clients, and retail investors are beginning to use crypto beyond a simple trade. This is a key area to watch in subsequent waves to gauge how the current financial climate drives adoption of crypto outside the original ecosystem, end quote. Now, according to the research, 68% of institutional investors surveyed say they are actively recommending crypto, while 15.2% say that they are doing so with caution. Just 6.4% say they are not recommending virtual assets to their clients. So pause to think about this. If you go back to like call it 2015, 2016, even into 2017, if you were somebody that was encouraging, if you're in the world of finance, you're encouraging your clients to jump into crypto, you were on the fringe, you were reckless, and you shouldn't have any clients. That was how you were supposed to be viewed anyway, right? Because, oh my gosh, you get into this weird magic internet money stuff. Well, now it's at the point where you're not going to have any damn clients. It's flipping. You're not going to have any clients if you aren't encouraging them to get exposure to the asset class. It's accepted at this point. It's well, I'd say this. It's not any longer considered necessarily fringe, but still only a tiny percentage of humans on the planet have ever held crypto. Best estimate, somewhere around 3%. And in fact, let me go through a little bit more of this information here, because you're going to fully appreciate after this, I think, just how early you are, which is great because that means the opportunity is still ahead. The Bitstamp study also finds that nearly 40% of both retail and institutional investors began trading digital assets just 2 years ago. Whew. Folks, you hear that? 40% of both retail and institutional investors, so it's everybody, began trading crypto assets, digital assets, just 2 years ago. Holy hell, 40% of them? Almost nobody's in this space, and almost nobody's in it has been in it for any serious length of time. You are so damn early to the party, which is why when we get to the part that might sound a little bit scary in terms of potential negative price action, because it could be, some people would view it as catastrophic in the short term. Who the hell's gonna freaking care? And you'll see why I'm saying that. But anyway, when asked if they're looking to increase their digital asset holdings in the next 5 years, 72% of institutional investors say they have plans to do so, while 73.1% of retail market participants offer the same reply. Folks, over the next 5 years, almost all of them are planning on increasing their holdings. So whatever happens in the short term, however scary, however much value, or well, say in terms of price, your XRP goes down, if it does, who cares? It's really not going to matter. Now, Credible Crypto, he's actually one of the guys that I follow regularly who does not think that it's most likely that we'll see Bitcoin go down to like the $28,000 level. He's not saying it's outright impossible. In fact, he even stated that he understands the concerns from a technical perspective as to why people are propping up this idea that Bitcoin's actually going to go that low. He put out a 10-minute video earlier today, and I watched the thing, and I don't want to regurgitate everything from that, but just the takeaway from him basically was, yeah, I can respect where they're coming from that, but I still don't think that's the most probable outcome. So he does think that we're going to continue to see Bitcoin move to the upside, and we're going to see explosive growth before the year's out, in fact. But lots of other analysts out there don't really feel the same. Look at this headline from you today. Peter Brandt predicts $28,000 for Bitcoin. Now, Peter Brandt is very famous in the world of crypto for having called the top of the last market cycle when Bitcoin hit its then all-time high of about $20,000. And he also called the bottom of the market, which occurred December 15th of 2018. But look at this tweet from him. The completion of a bear channel typically results in a decline equal to the width of the channel, or in this case, a hard test of 32,000 or so. My guess is $28,000. This does not make me a hater. That's true. It doesn't make him a hater. We'll see if that's what's going to happen here. But just if you're on Twitter, then you already know. If you've been checking your own personal feed, this is what's being discussed by pretty much every analyst under the sun, and a lot of them do think that there's real reason to be concerned like this. Here's another headline. Crypto trader issues Bitcoin alert. Says capitulation may be incoming. Here's his target. So I'm going to share with you part of what he had to say, but as I'm going through this, don't forget, as I just highlighted, regardless of this price action, even if this happens, and it's still an if, even if it happens, what about all those retail speculators and institutional money, institutional funds flowing in, as I just cited from that survey? Is it going to matter 5 years from now? I doubt it. But take a look at this. So they're talking about analyst Benjamin Cowan, and reads as follows. While Cowan says the 100-week moving average would be the next major line in the sand for Bitcoin, he says that if momentum picks up, Bitcoin could spike down further to test the next big level at the 200-week moving average, currently about 40% away from current prices. And here's a quote from him. And this might sound scary, but again, it doesn't mean this is going to happen, and even if it does, I don't care. But here's the quote. Below that, you obviously have the date with destiny. That is the 200-week moving average. That is currently at $21,600. So if Bitcoin were to go to $21,600, you're talking another 40% drop. I know that sounds like a lot, but listen, You have to remember that. Just saying things like, it can't happen and whatnot, well, it has happened before too. I was a buyer of Bitcoin at $6,000 and I watched it go to $3,000. I was a buyer of Bitcoin at $7,000 and $10,000 and I still watched it go back down to $3,800. So don't let people tell you it can't happen. We've seen it happen before. End quote. So again, we'll see who's right. We'll see who's wrong. I don't know if this is actually going to hit, but look, this is what's being discussed, so I'm happy to talk about it too. I don't pretend to know, but when it comes to investing, the biggest hurdle, honestly, is yourself. I believe that's true of every human because it's the emotions. When emotions start to creep up, that's when you start to make important financial decisions, not based on logic and reason, when the emotions creep in like that. So that's why just staying aware of things that might happen, even if they're scary sounding, it's worth staying in tune with this so that if that happens, you're like, okay, well, that's something that I knew was on the radar. It doesn't mean that functionally anything changed from a fundamental perspective or anything like that. XRP is still functionally useful, so even if it goes down in price, who cares? We're also still super early. So win Moon, win Lambo. Friday, 2 p.m. That's it. I am not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon Lambo.